In a world that's constantly throwing curveballs, there's one skill that's become absolutely essential: cognitive flexibility. Today, we're going to dig into a research paper, we'll call it New Note, that pretty much reframes everything we thought we knew about our own ability to adapt.
So let's just start with a big question. What if the way that most of us think about learning and adapting, what if that whole approach is actually holding us back? The source for today's explainer argues that's exactly the case, and, it offers a totally new path forward. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to get on the same page about what cognitive flexibility even is. Then we'll dive into the two big ideas from the research. After that, we'll talk about why this is so important in the real world, and finally, what it all means for the future.
All right, first things first. Before we can really challenge the old way of thinking, we have to be crystal clear on what we're actually talking about. So what is cognitive flexibility really?
Well, the source defines it as the mental firepower to switch between different ideas, or even to hold a few of them in your head at the same time. This isn't just about being open-minded. It's about your brain's raw ability to pivot on a dime. To look at a problem from a completely new angle when your first approach just isn't cutting it.
Okay, now for the first huge idea from this paper. And this is where we really start to flip the script on everything we've been told about mental agility.
Here's the absolute core of it. For ages, we've basically treated cognitive flexibility like it's your eye color. You're just born with it. You're either a flexible thinker or you're not. But New Note comes along and says, nope, that's totally wrong. It's way more like a muscle. It's something you can intentionally train, develop, and strengthen with the right kind of practice.
Listen to that key phrase right there. Cultivated practice. That changes everything, doesn't it? It means our ability to adapt isn't just up to chance. It's something we can actually take control of. It's a skill we can build, not some gift we either have or we don't.
And look, this isn't just some inspirational idea. It is grounded in hard science. The paper points directly to neuroplasticity, which is the brain's proven ability to physically rewire itself by forming new connections. We see it in studies where people learn a new language or how to play an instrument. It doesn't just make them a musician, it literally re-engineers their brain to be better at solving problems in general. Even things like mindfulness directly train this ability by teaching you how to observe and manage your own thoughts. So, if flexibility is trainable, that naturally leads to the next big question. Okay, so how do we train it? And this brings us right to the second key idea, which, honestly, is maybe the most surprising finding in the whole paper.
This is so fascinating. The old school thinking says if you want to get more flexible, you should just do more things at once, right? Juggle a bunch of emails, take calls, switch between projects. That's how you train your brain. But the research in New Note says the exact opposite. It argues that all that multitasking just trains you to be distracted. Real, lasting flexibility is built by focusing intensely on one thing, pushing your brain to its limits, and then, and this is key, letting it rest and absorb what it just learned. The agility comes from going deep, not from spreading yourself thin.
And the data? Well, the data is just stunning. In one study the paper cites, a group that practiced this kind of deep, focused work saw a 40% increase in their creative problem-solving ability. 40%. Compare that to the group that was constantly multitasking. I mean, think about that. The focus group didn't just get better at that one task. Their brains fundamentally learned how to adapt better to anything. It's just powerful proof against that whole busy equals productive myth.
Okay, so we know cognitive flexibility is a skill we can train, and we now know how to train it. But so what? What's the actual payoff? Why does any of this matter outside of a research lab?
Well, the paper lays out this really clear chain of events. It all starts with you, with individual practice. The immediate effect? You become that person at work who can handle anything that comes up, the go-to problem solver. But the long-term consequence is what's really profound. You are essentially future-proofing your entire career. As the source argues, in an economy that's changing faster than ever, this isn't just a nice-to-have skill. It's the core survival skill.
And this doesn't just apply to individuals. It scales up to entire industries. Take a look at this chart from the source. It shows the impact across a few different sectors. Now, no surprise, tech is at the very top. I mean, innovation is its lifeblood. But look how close behind education and healthcare are. That tells you that the sectors that are most critical for our society's health and its future are the ones that depend the most on this very human skill of being able to adapt.
So what does all this mean for what's coming next? New Note doesn't just drop these findings on us and walk away. It really does point a way forward.
This timeline really puts the whole journey into perspective. You see, we've come from this past where we thought flexibility was just set in stone. Now we're in this pivotal present moment where we know it's a skill.
And according to the source, the future is all about putting that knowledge into practice, building it right into our schools and our workplaces, so we don't just value this skill, but we actively teach it.
And that, of course, brings us to the final and maybe most critical question of all. If this skill is so foundational, how do we start weaving it into our education system? What does a school that actually teaches adaptability even look like? The research gives us the roadmap. Now it's up to all of us to figure out that first step.